Rev up your engines!
Camden. Scotty, thoughts on newer Subarus and CVT reliability? Have you heard their cars? Not of the 90s. I'm looking to buy a Forester. Okay. Subaru's one main big flaw was their automatic transmissions were garbage over time and they cost a fortune to rebuild. Their CV transmissions are no different. They still have problems, and they cost a fortune to rebuild. If you want something that you're going to drive forever, do not buy one. If you want a Subaru and you want it to last a really long time, get a standard transmission. And they are well built. They're excellent standard transmissions, but do not buy an automatic transmission Subaru and think it's going to last forever. If you have to buy an automatic transmission, go Toyota. They make the best ones. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But if you like Subarus and you can drive a standard, go ahead and get one that's standard, but never buy any of the Subarus with automatics or CVTs because they have lots of problems. I rented a Subaru with a CVT and it had like 8,000 miles and the transmission was already shifting crappy. So there's no way that I'd ever buy one of those things. I'll rent them because, hey, if it breaks, it's not my problem. It's the rental cars come. And I always do rent different cars when I go on either a business trip or on vacation because I like trying out all the different cars to tell people what I think about them. Kevin Rank-Halawan says, my parents bought me a 2006 Nissan Altima in October with over 150,000 miles. They bought it for $2,800. Did they pay too much? Yes, they did. That's a 13-year-old Nissan Altima with 150,000 miles on it. Now, $2,800 doesn't buy what it used to buy, but I wouldn't have paid that much for it for sure because Nissans are notorious for having problems. Now, let's say it doesn't burn much oil and the transmission shifts good. If it does, then at least it's still a decent car. But those engines are notorious for burning oil and blowing head gaskets for having bad automatic transmissions. So baby that car. Now, I know you can drive them fast, but don't take off jackrabbits and don't do burnouts on that thing because then you're pushing your luck. It's like playing with fire. They have weak engines and weak automatic transmissions. So baby it, change the oil every 4,000 or 5,000 miles, and you never know. And $2,800 these days for a car isn't that much money, but they did pay a little bit too much for it with that mileage, knowing those. If it had been a Toyota, no, but for the Nissan, yes, that's a bit too much. Cadillac 5291 says, is high mileage full synthetic beneficial or is continuing full synthetic fine if you have no leaks or burning off? Oh yeah, you can just stick with full synthetic if you've been using that. The high mileage stuff, you know, they claim, oh, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. There's no miracle additives. If an engine's worn, an engine is worn. And if you're not burning or leaking oil and you're using full synthetic, just stick to what you're using. The reason people go to these, oh, for an older engine and it helps them out, high mileage, is because maybe they got bad seals and it's leaking oil. It can maybe rejuvenate them a little. And it might have additives that can try to lubricate the engine a little bit better. But if you're not leaking or burning oil, my advice is stick with the oil that you've been using and it's working. Why change something that works, you know? Greg D says, I got a 2013 Honda with a CVT transmission. It went out at 125,000 miles. We want to replace it. What do you think is the most reliable car out there? You had a Honda. You didn't say what kind of Honda you had. Let's say you had a Civic. Well, then go get a Toyota Corolla. They're much more reliable. Or if, say, you had an Accord, get a Camry. The Toyota Camrys cost more, but they're very reliable cars. And they're much more luxurious. Depends on what kind of money you want to spend, you know? I mean, if sometimes people ask me, should I buy this car or that car? And sometimes they're completely different cars. And I'll say, it depends what you want. Do you want a luxury ride, a lot of acceleration, or do you want a car that's going to last forever and get better gas mileage? You got to decide what kind of car you want and then go from there. But regardless of what type of car you want, look for it in a Toyota because they're still the most dependable cars out there. And I'm not being paid by Toyota. I wish I was, you know. They probably got a lot of money because they make really good cars. But Foolproof SK says, Scotty, I bought an 93 Honda Accord with a manual transmission. When I'm shifting gears, it takes a while for the RPMs to drop. And the lag in RPMs can be noticed. Car has 268,000 miles on it. Okay, if you shift and it takes too long for the RPMs to drop, odds are you need a new clutch and it's just slipping. Any mechanic, let them road test it. They'll tell you if the clutch is slipping. The clutch could just be slipping and wearing out. Squinches inside the disc. And as it's worn, the pressure isn't enough, the disc gets too thin, and it'll start to slip, and then the RPMs won't go down. So odds are, you just need a new clutch in it. It's, 268,000 miles. Things just wear out.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.